Welcome to the initiative on quantitative aptitude, develop, enhance, enrich. In this fifth video on simple interest, we see some of the problems that were asked in various competitive examinations. Rupees 800 becomes rupees 956 in 3 years at a certain simple rate of interest. If the rate of interest is increased by 4%, what amount will rupees 800 become in 3 years? So 800 become 956 in 3 years at certain rate. Rate of interest is increased by 4%. What is the amount? So it is not necessary to find the original interest rate and then increase the interest rate by 4%, then to calculate the interest and then the amount. Since the interest is increased by 4%, it is enough to calculate how much interest will be increased for 800. So at 4% rate, the increased interest for 3 years for 100 is 3 into 4, that is 12. So for 100, the increased interest for 3 years is 3 into 4, that is 12. So for 800, what is the increased interest for 3 years? So it is 12 into 8, 96. So the total increased interest is 96. In the original interest, 800 become 956 in 3 years. So with the increased interest, 800 becomes 956 plus 96, that is 1052. So the answer is choice C. Similar problem. 800 amounts to 920 in 3 years at a simple interest. If the interest rate is increased by 3%, what would be rupees 800 amount to? So for the increased interest rate is 3%. So for 3 years, for 100 it is 3 into 3. For 800 it is 8 into 3 into 3. So 8 into 9, 72. So the amount 800 becomes by the increased interest 3% as 920 plus 72, that is 992. A sum was put at simple interest at a certain rate for 2 years. Had it been put at 3% higher rate, it would have fetched rupees 300 more. Find the sum. So this problem is the reverse of the previous problems. Their amount is given, we have to find what it become by the increased rate. Here the interest is given, increased interest is given, we have to find the sum. So the higher interest fetched for 3 years is 300. Sorry, for 2 years is 300. So higher interest fetched for 1 year is 300 by 2, that is 150. So for the higher interest fetched for 1 year is 150. What is the higher interest rate? 3% higher rate. So 3% higher means if the higher interest is 3, then the amount invested is 100. 3% means if the higher interest is 3 for 1 year, then the amount invested is 100. So 3 corresponds to 100. We want what is 150 corresponds to. So 3 corresponds to 100. What 150 corresponds to. So we have to divide 100 by 3, multiply by 150. So 100 by 3 into 150, that is 100 into 50, that is 5000. So the answer is choice A. How much time will it take for an amount 2000 to double at a simple interest rate 8%? So amount will double means the total interest should be equal to principal amount. So the simple interest rate is given as 8%. So 8% means for 100, if the interest is 8, then the year is 1. For 100, if the interest is 8, then the year is 1. But double means 100 have to become 200. That is, the interest have to be 100. So for interest 8, the year is 1. So for interest 100, what is the year? So 8 corresponds to 1. So what? 100 corresponds to. So we have to divide 1 by 8, multiply by 100, that is 100 by 8. 100 by 8 is 12 and 12 and half years. So the answer is choice D. Amala invests rupees 6,000 in a bond which gives interest at 4% per annum during first year, 5% during the second year, 10% during the third year. How much does she get at the end of the third year? So she invested 6,000. Interest rate differ for first year, second year, third year. So first year, how much 6,000 becomes? The interest is, for first year interest is 4%. So for 100 the interest is 4. So for 6,000 it is 4 by 100 into 6,000. That is the interest, first year interest. So at the end of the first year, 6,000 becomes 4 by 100 into 6,000 plus 6,000. So it is 240 plus 6,000, that is 6,240. Now for 6,240, we have to find the interest at 5% for the second year. So the amount in the beginning of second year is 6,240. The interest rate is 5%. So 5 by 100 into 6,240, that is the interest for the second year for 6,240 plus the amount 6,240. So on simplification, we get 312 plus 6,240, that is 6,552. So this is the amount at the end of second year. The third year interest rate is 10%. So for 6,552, we have to calculate the interest for at the rate of 10%. So the interest is 10 by 100 into 6,552. The amount is 6,552. So the At the end of third year, it will become 10 by 100 into 6,552 plus 6,552, that is 655.2 plus 6,552, which is 7,207.2. So the answer is choice D. The sum becomes 1.6 times itself in 5 years at simple rate of interest. Find the rate of interest per annum. So the sum becomes 1.6 times in 5 years. So we take the principal as 100. So at the end of 5 years, it will become 1.6 into 100, that is 160. So 5-year interest for 100 is 160 minus 100, that is 60. 5-year interest for 100 is 160 minus 100, that is 60. We want the interest rate. Interest rate means 1 year interest for 100. 5-year interest for 100 is 60. So 1 year interest for 100 is 60 by 5, that is 12. So the interest rate is 12% per annum. The cost of a dining table is rupees 8,400. A wants to pay it in 10 installments. His EMI is rupees 875. Find the rate of interest. So he repay the amount in 10 installment. The EMI is 875. So the total repayment is 10 into 875, that is 8,750. But the cost of the table is 8,400. So the interest paid for 10 months is 8,750 minus 8,400, that is 350. So this is the interest for 10 months. So interest for 10 months is 350. So interest for 12 months. For 10 months 350 means for 1 month it is 35. So 350 plus 2 into 35. So 350 plus 70, that is 420. So the interest for 12 months is 420. That is interest per year is 420. But the cost is 8,400. So for 8,400, the interest paid is 420. So interest rate means the interest paid per 100 per year. So per year for 8,400, the interest paid is 420. So 8,400 corresponds to 420. What 100 corresponds to? So we have to divide 420 by 8,400, then multiply it by 100. So we can easily see that we can cancel the 100 so that the denominator become 84. So on simplification it is 5. So the interest rate is 5% per annum. A man deposited 1 lakh in his bank account and earned a profit of rupees 25,000 at 5% simple interest per annum. Find out the time period for which the money deposited by the man remained in the bank. So for 1 lakh at 5% rate, he has earned 25,000. So we calculate for 1 lakh what is the interest for 1 year at 5% rate. So for 100 the interest is 5. So for 1 lakh it is 1 lakh into 5 by 100, which is 5,000. So for 1 year interest for 1 lakh is 5,000. But he has earned 25,000. So 1 year interest is 5,000. So he has earned 25,000. So how much year it will take? 25,000 by 5,000, that is 5 years. So the answer is choice 2. Find the simple interest on rupees 6,750 for 219 days at 10% per annum. So the interest rate is 10% per annum. But we have to calculate interest for 219 days. So we convert 219 days into year. So 2,290 days is 219 divided by 365 years. So in years, 219 days is 219 divided by 365. Because for 1 year, there are 365 days. Interest rate is 10%. So for 100, the interest is 10. So the amount is 6,750. So the interest is 6,750 into 219 divided by 365 into 10 by 100. So 100 by 10 by 100 becomes 1 by 10. 219 by 365 becomes 3 by 5. Cancelling the numerator and denominator by 73. So 1 by 10 into 3 by 5 into 6,750. So that is 3 into 135, which is 405. So the answer is choice C. So thank you for watching. Work hard to succeed. Wish you all success.